Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions throughout the Quran the names of some of the greatest individuals of history, and none greater than the prophets and messengers of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions 25 names. From them, some are mentioned in detail, and some of them just merely by name and some of their characteristics. Subhanallah. From these prophets and messengers, we know that 5 are outstanding, that rise above all the rest. عليهم الصلاة وأتم التسليم. And who are these 5 messengers? They are Ibrahim عليه السلام, Musa عليه السلام, Nuh عليه السلام, Isa عليه السلام, and Muhammad sallallahu عليه وسلم. These 5 great messengers whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes as having great resolve. They are ulul azmi min ar-rusul. They are from the messengers having great resolve and determination in the responsibilities and jobs that they were given to their particular people, subhanallah. But with special focus on Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, a prophet whose story is mentioned in such detail that it starts from the time that he, or even before that he was born, alayhi salatu wasalam, until, subhanallah, in the completing of his mission in saving, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission, Banu Israel from the clutches and the punishment and oppression of Fir'aun. Now, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is a prophet who is mentioned more frequently than any other messenger in the Quran. And this tells us and gives us great benefits that we need to pay great attention to. And that is a person's story who is mentioned from the very beginning of his life, pretty much through all the journeys of getting married, having a family, and all the trials and tribulations that he had with his people and his brother Harun alayhi salam. So many lessons can be taken from that. More than 130 times Musa alayhi salam is mentioned in the Quran in more than 24 chapters. Subhanallah, from the first juz of the Quran to the last juz of the Quran, we find that Musa alayhi salam, he is mentioned. Now his character alayhi salam is known to be very strong, very, very powerful, and to be very, very determined. And this is a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at the same time, as we know that he was a very trustworthy person. And of course, this is the nature of all of the prophets, and it is a characteristic that we all try to have within ourselves. But examples are given with regards to Musa alayhi salam in how he found his family, got married, and how he was so humble and respectful of the women who were trying to have their sheep and take from the well. So we take lessons from Musa alayhi salam from the beginning of his life, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected him from the beginning to the end. Now we know that he lived at a time in which the tribes of Banu Israel, the children of Israel, that they were being suppressed, oppressed, slaughtered and killed by one of the greatest tyrants from the history of mankind, and that is Pharaoh. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this mission to this particular individual and helped him get through that. And likewise for us, whatever trials and tribulations and tests Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to us, it is according to the level of our iman and the strength of our iman. So never does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala burden a soul beyond its capability. So we take rest and we take comfort in that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always give you a test that is according to your level. So when reading the story of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it in the Quran, and you may think the same story has been mentioned time after time. However, if you look and you listen carefully, you will find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, does mention maybe the same part of the story, but from a different perspective. Just as you may look at an event from this side, and then you turn and you go on the other side, you can see the same event that is going on from a different perspective, which gives you a greater insight. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the story of Musa alayhi salam in the Quran. Not in one chapter, not in one place, but rather spread out throughout the Quran, so it serves as a reminder to us all. So brothers and sisters, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to have the insight and the blessings of reading the stories of prophets with open hearts and allowing these benefits to affect our lives so that we can follow them. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that through their guidance that we will be guided. Inshallah ta'ala, through their teachings that we will be guided bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.